Join Tara and Alyssa as they explore the intersection of business, lifestyle, health, and wellness. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a wellness enthusiast, or someone seeking a meaningful life, this podcast delivers insights and inspiration for living your best life, because true success is about more than just the bottom line. To stay up to date on our latest episodes, be sure to subscribe and like us on our channel and follow us on LinkedIn or Instagram at The Business of Living Well. Hey guys, welcome to The Business of Living Well. My name is Alyssa Lukoski. I'm a commercial realtor here in Fargo, North Dakota.
And I am Tara Walker, also a realtor in Fargo, North Dakota area, as well as a real estate photographer and the owner of Fresh, a juice company.
We have Kayla Kallander joining us today. We are going to be talking about everything from mortgage lending to being a dog mom to working in a fast-paced industry and trying to avoid that burnout that comes with it a lot of the times.
Yeah, for sure. We had a lot of good snippets today, good conversation for kind of everyone in every kind of industry.
We're excited for you guys to take a listen.
Follow along.
Kayla Kallander, welcome to The Business of Living Well.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I've just been so excited because what you guys are doing is incredible, and I'm so pumped to be part of it.
Thank you. We are so excited to have you. You are a mortgage queen with First International Bank.
Thank you.
Over 10 years of experience.
Yeah.
You're a co-author. You also have a podcast.
I do. Make me sound like a big deal. Gosh.
I mean, you kind of are. You have a huge social media presence. Mm-hmm. And most importantly, you are the dog mom to 4 rescue pitties.
I am the dog mom. I think we should put that at the top because that's like where I feel like I just do my best work.
Yeah. Save the best for last, right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Thank you for those things because when you hear it, it's just kind of fun to look at your resume just kind of verbally spoken out. So, but the dogs
You have
top.
a good resume.
Thank you. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get into the mortgage industry?
You know, probably how everybody does, by accident. You know, I don't think that there were times in my life when I was little thinking, I want to be a mortgage lender when I grow up. I think it just kind of naturally happens. I started working at a bank when I was 15 years old, which how do you do that? How is that possible?
Were you a
teller. Okay. For 6 years in my small town of Walhalla, North Dakota, Canada, basically. But worked just your way up, right? You go from a teller, to a banker, to virtual banking, to health savings accounts, to loans. And finally it was like, well, what's next? And that was mortgage lending. And I had gotten into a role with, local banks in town, and I processed and worked my way into origination, which is a loan officer. And I mean, it's been since about 2017 that I've been a full-time mortgage lender. So it wasn't that, I had a parent that was in the business or, I just fell in love with real estate and was a realtor and worked my way that way. It just happened, just a natural progression. So here we are,
so awesome.
Years later.
How do you stay ahead in an industry that's constantly evolving and changing and different regulations?
The thing with this business is it's hard, you guys. Things change constantly. If you're not detailed, if you don't delegate, and if you don't self-teach, you will fail because we had this industry. I believe the stats were in 2020, we had 400,000 loan officers. And I believe, don't quote me, I think we're at 95,000.
Oh, wow.
And so I share that because when you are not in it to win it, if you're not in it for the empowerment, the education, if you're not listening to podcasts, if you're not being coached, you just will not have the success because it's hard. I mean, the regulations, the changes, the overlays, the products, the sales, the everything that goes into it, if you're not, just self-teaching, taking that step to, hey, I don't know this, I want to learn more about it, whether it be on appraisals or VA or self-employed income, you'll fall behind. So to answer your question, long answer, longer, it's just, pouring myself into things to make me better, you got to be confident.
And I think that goes with any industry that people are in. It's
anything.
You need to constantly be challenging yourself and learning or you're going to stay behind.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
it's true.
How do you use that going into your clients? Like, how do you take your knowledge and how do you kind of help your clients and show them?
So buying a house traditionally is scary for clients. You're hearing things on the media. You are hearing your neighbors or your friends' horror stories. You're hearing interest rates are high, don't buy, or the furnace went out. So a lot of clients come in, you guys, so stressed out. And one of the things that I have learned over the years, and I've been coached on this and I've, talked to thousands of clients, is that when you can educate and empower your clients, they become confident. And confident buyers make confident decisions. I notice when I take the time up front and have what I call a discovery call with a client, I ask their hopes, their dreams, their fears, their budget, their cat's names, their dog's names, what are you looking forward to? I then can create a strategy for them. And then they are more confident when they're out shopping for homes and touring homes. And I always say prescription without diagnosis is malpractice, meaning I cannot prescribe and diagnose you options and programs and cash at close unless you take the time to tell me, like when you go and tell your doctor, I don't feel good, this is why. I cannot do that unless clients take the time up front. So I educate them and empower them by asking them the questions, getting a full application, understanding what they want out of this and what their goals are, because then when I send them back to their realtor, they're ready to go. They're excited. They're not like, oh gosh, I saw the house and it's perfect, but I don't really understand the payment because the lender hasn't told me. It's really just pouring into them up front.
Yeah. I definitely understand that. And I wanted to ask you this of like, we see a lot of clients lose. And how is it that you keep the fire lit under them and keep them motivated and like excited when they are in the losing environment?
I think when you focus on the pain points and the pleasure points. So a lot of times clients, like I said, they're like, oh, the payment. But when I flip it and I flip the conversation and I'm like, what do you imagine when you're in the house? Think about Christmas and baking cookies. And a big thing for my clients, as you guys know, is, oh, you have a dog and you're in an apartment. Think about these, I call them the pleasure points, because when clients then see the payment and they see the house, that's when it clicks. They'll tell me, I don't want to spend more than $2,000 a month. They'll see the house, they'll think of the things, we'll talk through it, and they're like, you know what? I see myself here. And it becomes more than just money. Yeah. And yes, it's important. You don't want to be house poor. Yeah. But when we can tell our clients, here's your payment, here's your rate, here's what your cash at close is. Oh, by the way, you skip a payment when you make your payment. Oh, by the way, mortgage insurance is going to fall off. Oh, also, if you refi or if you switch insurance companies at some point or you bundle, like when you do all of that, clients then are like, oh, okay, like I can see this. And that's, I feel like the key to the fire being lit is they're, again, educated.
It's not as black as white and white as they think it is.
Yeah, I think too, it's just once they see it all and then they can, I think it's once they're with the realtor and they're in the house and they feel that. And sometimes we'll focus on like the pain points, like a lot of clients I'll have, which is kind of strange lately, but it's just what it is. They're living with in-laws or parents and they're like, I need to get out of here. And so when you focus on that and be like, imagine if you were out of that, they're like, oh yeah, okay, it's worth it. And I just think it's just harder to be approved for what you once were, right? 2.75 rate, 3% rate. Your buying power has diminished, and it really comes down to what's important to you. Your truck payment, this boat loan, these credit cards, what's most important. And it finally clicks with people, especially in the last couple of years, like, hey, rates aren't probably going anywhere. Right. This is what it's going to be. And do you want to create that equity, or do you want to create equity for someone else?
Yeah, so, for sure. Yeah,
it's true.
So what advice would you have for someone, say someone right now is listening and they are thinking of either buying their first home this year or maybe upgrading, downgrading? What first steps should they be taking?
So first and foremost, it's really easy to go on Zillow or to go online, which I would too, and I did. But I 1,000% say you need to meet with the experts, whether that be connect with a realtor, connect with a lender, do your research on the lender. So many people say, well, my mom used this lender years ago, or my uncle's a lender. At the end of the day, we are seeing that this industry, I always use the phrase, when the tide rolls out, you see who's swimming naked, meaning the people that are really great are the ones that are going to take over the market share because they're great at their job. So align yourself with professionals, do the research, and take the time. It's the biggest purchase. Yet for some reason, clients struggle to meet. They just like the one spouse will meet versus two. And also, if you do have a spouse or a significant other, like be on the same page.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you guys if you've experienced this, but seeing two different people on the loan or the purchase or buying a home and having completely different ideas of what they want, that can completely ruin deals because one will be motivated and the other won't. But I would say just align yourself with the right professionals and take the time to meet and just be on the same page.
Absolutely. Yeah. I actually just had a couple the other day who were on very different pages. We found a house that they seemed to be both on the same page about.
Yeah.
We put in an offer that night. I woke up the next morning and saw I had a text message at 4 a.m.
Oh.
They wanted to cancel their offer. Thankfully, it wasn't signed yet, and we weren't under contract yet and hadn't moved forward. But it's so crazy of how fast, like, that conversation between two people and that one difference that they have or the one disagreement that they have can really just make them not love a house.
Well, and then it's, you want to make a strong offer. And I always say the strongest offer isn't always the highest price. It's the most strategic one. And if the concern is, up front between those two, it's almost like having multiple clients and multiple offers because you don't know. And then time kills deals. So it's important to be on the same page with your spouse on all fronts, on all things in life.
Sure. Yes. Everything. What are the top factors that you consider when you are approving a mortgage or looking at the buying process?
So when I am approving somebody, the biggest thing is, well, this isn't on the application at all, but it's what's your motivation? Why do you want to buy? Because I'll have someone say, I want to afford $1,000 a month. And off that question and that answer, I should say, we know up front what that can equate to in a purchase price. And so I always want to say, what's your motivation? Kind of what's your budget? What are you thinking? Because I would never discourage someone from applying ever, regardless of their goals. In fact, back to the prescription without diagnosis is malpractice, I might get them approved for $10,000 a month. And then they might say, you know what? We want to be approved for $2,000. Like, it's all about the motivation up front. What are your goals? Because then what we do is we get an application and that's going to be the bread and butter. That's going to be, can we approve you? So the factors of that would be credit. Credit scores are important. You can make $1 million a year. And if you have a credit score that, or no credit score, I just had one yesterday, we can't really do much at that point. So we look at credit. So make sure you're paying your bills on time. If you have collections, take care of them. If you're co-signing on a loan, make sure that they're paying it or that it's on time. So that's probably the biggest factor is credit. We look at income, obviously, whether you're self-employed, that's a big deal. Or are you salary? It's a lot easier to approve someone with a salary. You take their annual divided by 12 versus self-employment. We're taking into account so many different factors, length of time. We look at your assets. What do you have for down payment? Do you qualify for down payment assistance? Like, what's in your bank account? What's in your retirement? We look at that. And then I would say another, big factor is going back to like affordability and just knowing what you want to afford. Because again, so many times people will say, well, I don't want the payment of $3,000. I don't want it, but they want the house that equates to $3,000. So it's not just the motivation, but like, is your dream and is your budget in line with what you can get?
Yeah.
And I think those are probably the biggest factors.
I think also, like, you may be approved to a certain amount. That doesn't mean you should be spending that certain amount.
Right. And we see it all the time. And it's sometimes people just want to know, and I'll tell them, yes, you could technically buy $1 million home, and they just want to know. But, sometimes, when I send a realtor an approval, I say, hey, their comfort zone is $300,000 roughly, payment of X. I said, but they have the room to go higher should they choose. Sometimes I don't even share what the highest is because I know you've told me 6 times you do not want to be house poor and you want to stay in this payment. So why are we
not even look there?
Yeah. And then, you don't, you want to afford, contributing to your 401k and your college savings for your kids. So that's kind of the goal. So I love that you say that because it's common that's a factor that we run into.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have a very busy work life.
Productive work life.
I like that word. Yes. You have a productive work
Mm-hmm.
life. How do you balance that with your personal life?
I don't. I don't. Like this, like, let's get real and raw, you guys.
Yeah.
Because we know each other outside of this. I have struggled with that. I have struggled, and you can ask my husband because he's been the biggest cheerleader for me, is this whole thing with balance and being commissioned and no cap. Like, you could sell 1 million houses a year or none, right? You could do the same. Like, you can help. There's just no limit. And I think you really need to define, and this has been something that I've really realized in the last few months with a lot of changes that have happened, a lot of things that have gone on personally and professionally, is that have your goal in mind and work back and say, do I need to do 100 million a year or is 50 million? And how do I want to be there for my clients? Do I want to touch every single person, or do I want to hand that off to an assistant? I think you really need to get clear on your goals of your business, because for people like us, it overlaps.
Yeah.
It's involved, and it's like we're taking calls at night, things like that. So boundaries are important, but I think it's really just fine tuning what's important. And we put on our calendars things like, okay, we're gonna go to the gym, or we're going to, meet with this client. But I have been better at saying, okay, I want to have a date night, or every day I'm going to walk the dogs at this time, or just putting it on the calendar. Or this last year, I've spent a lot more time with family.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we lose those ones we love, and sometimes we realize life is short. And I think that not just, the boundaries and having, priorities, but you have to put things on the calendar. So I'm telling you guys this because I'm telling myself I need to do that too, because it's just so easy for our industry for it to take over, because we truly don't know when the next deal will be. We know it's been a hard market. And so I think we're just kind of all like, just, go sometimes, but there's nothing wrong with self-care either.
Well, and you don't want to say no. You don't want to take a full day to reply, because then they might go somewhere else. So it's hard to balance that. But
it is. And I think too, having a team. So I have, my loan partner, Anna, my processor, Christina, my closer, Aaron. Like, when you have people to delegate to, or, you might have a marketing person, or you might have an assistant at home, whatever that may be. I think that, I always say delegate to elevate. Some things you should delegate. I do not mow our lawn in Fargo. Right. I do at the lake, but we hire that out because it allows me more time, and I'm not good at it. So it's like finding those things too that you can offset to someone else.
Are you good at delegating on the work side of things?
If I have someone I trust, yes.
Okay.
And as long as they're trained to I love that you asked that, give the same level of service that I know that my clients and referral partners trust me with. Absolutely. In fact, I'm like, take it, run with it.
Yeah.
And I want my clients and referral partners to know my team as well as me, because that allows me to go help more people.
Yeah.
So
that is a hard thing, is trusting other people.
Oh, it is.
How have you built that trust with your team and kind of worked like inside to make it better for your clients?
I think that you have to be firm with, your expectations. So I am coached by a gentleman, his name's Bernie Miller. He is well known in our industry. And today even, he's like, are you having weekly meetings with Anna, or daily meetings? I'm sorry. And I'm like, I'm not, but we talk throughout the day. And he's like, no, stop that. He's like, that's distracting. Have your meetings. So by having the day start with gratitude and talking to her and having like, here's our priorities, and just having those expectations set, then you have that accountability and also empowering people. So I want her to feel like, hey, if you don't have time for these things and it gets overwhelming, that's okay. Like, it's okay, but let's try to find out why that is. I think you just have to have that firmness, but also she can text me photos of her cats and we laugh and we giggle, and having that friendship as well. It's a delicate balance, but if you don't tell someone what to do or show them how do you expect them to do it?
Right.
And I've had people in the past that I'm like, oh, they don't do it that way. And I'm like, well, have I ever shown them? So you just have to take that full accountability and tell them, here's what we need to do. But also just have that friendship and just like open relationship of, oh, you're having a bad day, you can come to me.
Yeah.
And we all make mistakes. Like I tell her, I'm like, I make mistakes all the time, but how do we fix them? And what kind of customer, like service recovery do we do? What if, we mess something up? That's fine. People make make mistakes. We're humans, but how do we fix it? And having a safe space, I guess, for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the communication aspect, I think, is huge, and in building the trust. And so with how productive you are throughout your day, how do you avoid burnout?
That's a tough one. I think it comes back to having a plan, having priorities, having delegation. It's kind of the same thing, but I also think too, I have had in the past like this perfectionism mindset, and it's like sometimes we fixate on things that really aren't that important, you know, and that's where coaching has helped me, you know, and you know, thinking about, is this that important? Like, why am I focusing on that? Right. And I think it's like the whole, like the Mel Robbins, like let them theory. It's like, okay, why am I, you know, letting that bother me? Why am I letting this take up real estate in my head? Right. It's just like, let it go. And I just kind of apply that to other things. Like, don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
But as my mom says, it's all small stuff.
Yeah, it's all small stuff.
Well, I feel like that's kind of how you go about social media too. You post out there a lot, and you post great content.
Thank you.
But it's unfiltered. It's always you.
Yeah.
And how did you get to that point of not caring what people think and not just
how do you know I'm to that point? No, I'm kidding. I love this question because I struggle with it. And I hope that anyone listening to this is, you know, they may see us from the outside, but they know it's not just, you know, butterflies and rainbows. Is I had heard like, be authentic. Yep. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, oh gosh, like that means I shouldn't be wearing makeup. And that means that I should you know, my words aren't going to be perfect. And I kept comparing myself to like something that like I'm not. I like to wear makeup. I like to be well spoken. And I realized someone said to me, they're like, being authentic is being you. Why are you trying to change you? And so I would show up with my makeup on. Yep. I would show up with certain things in my life. And what I realized is like, that is authentic Kayla. And that's me being goofy and me being serious and me having my dogs in the background, but it's not downplaying who you are. Absolutely. And I'm like, oh, how do I dull the sparkle? Oh, because I would see people show up in tears on social media. You know what I mean? Like you see people crying and like, or them, I want to say like sharing their deepest, darkest moments. Well, if that's not who I am when I show up, like, why am I trying to do that to be more relatable? Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like I want to be a light and be positive because there's so much ick in the world. That is the authentic me. Do I have my moments? Heck yes. But the authentic Kayla is showing up just how I am. And that's exactly what I explained. So,
and you are a light.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, thanks. I would like to be known as a beacon. That's the goal. A beacon of light. And I had another coach who said to me, do not be a lifeguard and go and chase people and chase. Be a lighthouse and let the boats come to you. Oh, and I'm like,
I really like that.
I love that one.
Yeah, I love that.
So just show up who you are, you know? Yeah.
What is a book, a podcast, a quote? What's something that has helped you and had a major influence on your growth?
I would say, well, I talked about having coaches, whether it's a life coach, an industry coach. I think you should always be coached, because if someone isn't watching your swing, you just don't know if you're swinging right? Yeah, so I think the rule of thumb is, in our industry, you should be taking 10% of your income and investing it in yourself. And I think that having a coach it's again, watching your swing. I hired a life coach back years ago. Her name is Jill Phillips. She's fabulous. And she gave me so many like mantras and thoughts and things to use that I use like all the time. And guess what? Yeah, it does cost a lot of money to hire coaching, but it also costs you a lot of money to not. So I would say that's been a game changer. I recently listened to the book, Exactly What to Say. And I actually saw Phil Jones in person, and it's really the psychology of what you say to people and how they respond. And in sales, it's like, you're not trying to trick people, but you want them to feel like when they're picking between two people, it can be the difference of one thing you say. And so they have a realtor version too, but I would say that was an amazing short listen that just made me think about the way that I speak to people and just rephrasing things. So that's a really great book, an Audible.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, Okay, so we were talking about how you're active on social media
Yeah.
and how you truly show up as your authentic self on social media. How do you use that to build relationships with clients, with other vendors in town, and just businesses as well?
Probably most, I would say the biggest thing that I'm passionate about is engaging with other people, and social media has been incredible for that. So, we always say don't post and ghost, meaning don't post something and then people comment, you don't say anything. Or, you know how people will like something on social media, but likes get lost, if you know what I mean? Like you post something and you remember the people that comment. And so I will be that person that I will always go and try to be like the person commenting the longest because I want to pour into them.
Absolutely.
And engagement is where it's at. And what I found is you can post, but where my engagement happens is in my stories. Okay. So that's where like I post my personal life. You don't see a lot of like posts about my dogs, like actually like on my mortgage page, let's say, but you'll see them on my stories. And so what I try to do is create conversations. And so I always say content creates conversations. And you're going to notice I have so many of these little like quip things that I say, but I just,
I'm start writing all these
like, I should like make a list and hand it out at the end. Yes, like a download my free. We could do that. But it's true. Like your content creates a conversations. And my coach that I talked about, he's like, saying, do you know a lot of the realtors in your town? I'm like, yeah, I do. And he's like, well, have you gone to coffee? Like, how have you done deals with them? And I'm like, well, a lot of them have dogs too, and we talk about it on social. So for me, it's like that. I don't like cold calling. I don't like being like, hey, Tara, let's get coffee. I want to talk to you about my business. It really comes down to, because I've gotten to know people, I'm like, we should catch up, or I'd love to help you. Or there was a realtor in town. I went to the office. It was Berkshire. You know what? I'm just going to say her name. It's CJ Anderson. Years ago, she had like dogs in the office, and that's how I met her. And so when you think about, if you get, 1,000 impressions, so many people are hooked on, well, it's not 1 million views. It's not 100,000 views. It's like, if you could get in front of 1,000 people, like, wouldn't you? And so what I found is that just the engagement and the finding like the relationships online organically is just reaching out and commenting. Or if someone follows me, I'll reach out and say, thanks for the follow. I hope you find my content entertaining and educational. Like, let me know. But you just have to like get over the likes and get into people's DMs and comments.
Yes. And I think even like if you're only getting 5 likes or 5 comments, and those 5 comments are people that are important to you, or people local that you talk with a lot, then I think that's all that matters. It's if you're connecting with the right people. It doesn't matter how many people, it's just the right people.
Absolutely. I agree. And I think like the algorithms have changed and things like that. And you have to just remember, like, you might get one person that you changed their life, or one person that reached out to buy a home, or to list their property. It's like, you don't need 1 million views to do that. You could have, like you said, 5 people watch, and that's all you need.
Absolutely.
So
what is one piece of advice for, let's say, like a small business owner starting out? What would be something that you would tell them to get out on social media? Where should they start?
Just start. Just do it. I think my best piece of advice is people work with people, not necessarily businesses. Yes, like we work for, businesses and we want to work with those other businesses, but it's the people, right? Yeah. And when you get to know people's hearts and their souls and what makes them tick and their passions, like, don't be afraid to hop on and show your true self as a person. Because when I was first getting on Instagram, I remember thinking, gosh, do I post my personal life? And I saw another lender do it, and I'm like, I feel like I know this girl. Yeah. And I'm like, why am I not doing this? So when I started to post more personally, now it doesn't have to be like, hey, here's what I ate today. Now it could be, because I like when people post what they eat, and I can be like, where'd you eat? It's true. But like, don't be afraid to post like you're coaching your son's soccer game, or you're involved with certain charities, because it like people then, engage and they see you as a soul, not just like the name on your jacket.
More down to earth and a real person.
Yeah, and not be afraid for that. Like, don't feel like you have to post in our industry, had a closing today, working hard today at the office. It can be like, here are the fun, cool things I did as a human being. Yeah. So that would be my recommendation is we get so caught up in what are we going to post next? And, oh gosh, I don't know what's something work related. Just post. Yeah. Just post.
Is there any tools or apps that you use to, because you put out a lot of content. Is there any apps or tools that you use to put out content?
So captions was something I did use a bit. It was like $10 a month. I don't really as much anymore, but it was good just to get like, it was like, a video app. So it would get you going, like just like templates. Teleprompter was so I could read. Now I just wing it.
Okay,
So
smart.
you could put in words and it would go. So you could actually like
It's like
review it.
teleprompter.
Yeah, exactly like that. Hence the name teleprompter. But I use a lot of the in-app. So the Instagram, like within to record. I use my iPhone. I don't have anything fancy. I use, at home, I've got, ring lights. I've got, I think like the Alex Earl, attachment. And then I have like a $20 like mic that I use every now and then.
Yeah.
And that's really it. It's nothing crazy. But it's just, again, if you have an iPhone or if you're an Android user, I'm sorry that you're going through that, but like just use your phone and just try it. Like that's all.
Yeah, it
So-
elevates it a little bit. Okay, I have a fun question.
Oh, goody. Okay.
Okay, so you have 4 dogs.
I
They're
do.
all little pit bull mixes.
I thought you were going to say they were little.
Well, no, they're so sweet. So they all have different personalities.
Yes.
If you had to give each of them a job, you know, with either your social media, your mortgage, your author, any of that, what roles would you give them?
Oh my gosh.
I know it's kind of a hard one.
Okay. Well, Colby Thomas, he would be probably like the CEO of my life because he's so serious and he's like, if I'm not around, he's like, where are you? So I would say he would be kind of like the manager, CEO of like everything. Oxley John. So he is the one who, when he's upset or hungry or has to go to the bathroom, he's very vocal. So I feel like he would be more like, I don't know, like he speaks up a lot. So I would say maybe like, I don't know, like HR. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that a thing? Like I don't know if I'm answering this right.
He's the tattletale.
Yeah. He's always like, hey, listen, like if there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Scarlett Virginia Lynn, she would be like probably marketing because she's just like, everyone like wants to be around her. She's soft and she's cute and she's,
So pretty.
yeah, she's so pretty. Like she'd probably be like, you know, like be like the model that we take photos of for like,
Shows
you
us
know,
her nails done.
yes, her nails. Like she'd be probably like maybe like a social media manager.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's you in dog form.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
thanks. Oh my gosh. And then Theo Lou, he is, oh my gosh. I
Loving
feel
the middle names here.
Oh yes, and they're all named after family members. They
Yeah.
love that. I would say he would be like my sales manager because he's like the one that greets you and is excited and like snuggles you and like just makes you feel warm and fuzzy. And I feel like that's sales. So maybe he would take over my job. I don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No,
so,
I love those
gosh, I love that
answers.
question though. Like, gosh, I don't even know. Oh.
That's funny. Sammy would just be lazy.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
I'm not even sure if I could hire him. I think I'd have to fire him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You're like, you're no longer on payroll, honey.
That's
I love
funny.
that. Good old Sammy.
And
Thank
we're
you.
kind of wrapping up here.
Yay.
Thank you for joining
Yes.
us on our first
Yes.
episode.
First
Yay.
episode. I'm so excited.
So exciting.
Yay.
So we're always going to ask the same question as we leave and kind of exit out.
Yeah.
I totally forgot that he wasn't put away.
I love it.
Sammy's
Hi,
just hanging
Sammy.
out in the
Sammy, you can
corner.
come join us anytime. He heard us talking about the dogs. And he's like, what
did.
about me?
Yeah, what's my job? So what does living well mean to you?
Living well. I think that living well, I hate to say like you have to be balanced. I think living well is just truly living for what you want your life to be. Because we all have different aspirations, different goals. And in the last year, actually, no, not the last year, in probably the last 2 to 3 months, I've realized like just because someone else has a goal of making X amount a year or listening to this, these amount of books, because, January 1st comes and you see all these goals, it doesn't mean it has to be for you. You could be perfectly happy doing X, Y, Z. And if that makes you happy, that makes you happy. So just defining your own wants, needs, hopes, goals, and not letting someone else. I think that would be living well because it's so easy to get in that trap of comparison, that trap of, like moving that goalpost every single day or year. It's like, stop and look at all of your achievements and, does working 80 hours a week bring you happiness? Or does, spending hours on a Saturday with your dog snuggling, does that bring you happiness? It's all based on you and you need to stay true to yourself.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that
I
answer.
love that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good.
Well, thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for coming
Thanks for
on.
letting me, guys. And this just
Absolutely.
means that I am the first return guest then, right?
Yeah,
okay.
you
Woo.
sure
All right. Yay. Well,
Maybe
cheers.
next time you'll have to bring your 4 pitties.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine? Like the lights would be down, it'd be great. Sammy would be
chaos.
upstairs. He's like,
Yeah.
what is this? But
Exactly.
maybe one at a time. We'll see.
Perfect.
We'll see. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Cheers.
Yay. Cheers.